Welcome back to the Caregiver Minute, where every weekday family and professional caregivers gather to refine their skills, gain inspiration, and prepare to serve. Have you ever noticed that when toddlers are beginning to develop language skills, they get kind of touchy-feely? They start touching everything around them, and they also put a lot of things in their mouths. One of the reasons for that is that our fingertips have millions of mechanoreceptors on them. And when those receptors are stimulated, it helps to stimulate the language center of the brain. So we tend to see those kinds of behaviors going hand in hand, language development and touching a lot of things. Well, the reverse is true for someone living with Alzheimer's or another dementing illness that's affecting the language center of their brain. As it deteriorates, people tend to get pretty touchy-feely. They start touching everything in sight, and sometimes the way that they're touching things gets labeled as inappropriate sexual behavior. But it often isn't. It's often an attempt on their part to stimulate the language center of the brain. Now, it's not that they have insight or that they could tell you, my language area is deteriorating and I'm trying to do something about it. This isn't any more conscious than it is for the children who are going in the reverse direction. But it does help us understand why this behavior occurs for some people and what we can do about it. Instead of trying to get them to stop touching things, we need to work really hard to give them appropriate things to touch, like things with as many different textures as possible. One of the reasons that pet therapy can be so effective for people living with dementia is that it stimulates those mechanoreceptors. If people can sit there and stroke that pet's fur to their heart's content, it's therapeutic on a lot of different levels. Not only do they get the connection with the animal, but they also get the opportunity to stimulate those mechanoreceptors. There are devices you could look up called brain paths. I'll even put a link in the description of this video. Brain paths are a simple device. They're actually registered with the FDA, but they're just hard plastic discs that have paths carved in them that you can trace your fingers over to stimulate those mechanoreceptors deliberately. You don't even have to spend money on that, though. You could get different kinds of fabric. You could get some things that are rough and some things that are smooth. You could get a little bit of sandpaper, or you could get some silk and everything in between and let people touch those things. The more we understand about how the brain is deteriorating and what shows up in terms of outward behavior as those parts of the brain deteriorate, the more we have insight about things that we could do that would be therapeutic and helpful for people. Now, some of you might be serving an individual in the home or a group of people in a community setting, none of whom exhibit the kind of touching behavior I've been talking about. So I want to call out the principle at work here. It's been said that behavior is communication. But behavior is also an outward expression of an internal state. It's telling us something about how the brain and the physical system are functioning. In this case, if the language center is deteriorating, you see the outward behavior of touching because people might intuitively be trying to stimulate mechanoreceptors. If the memory center of the brain is deteriorating, you tend to see memory loss as an outward sign. So today, I invite you to ask yourself, what things the person or people that you're serving are communicating, and what does that tell you about the things that are going on inside their brain and their physical system? Are there insights that you could glean from making some of those connections, in the same way that I've tried to connect language deterioration with touchy-feely kinds of behavior? I hope these insights are helpful to you and the people that you serve, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for another episode of the Caregiver Minute.